Before completely shifting focus to the fifth round of the 2025 Formula One season, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, let's take one more look at some key insights from Ferrari's weekend at the 5.412-kilometer Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir. The Italian side made a small step forward compared to the first part of the weekend, although the result remains insufficient. The Maranello team is trying to optimize the SF-25 car following the introduction of a new floor, but the step forward in tire management is still missing. This is an area that requires a lot of effort because, as we know, tires play a crucial role in the top category of motorsport. Given the degradation seen in the first two free practice sessions, the Ferrari engineers and technicians opted for a more flexible strategy, with the aim of extending the first stint and better managing tire wear. This choice only paid off with Charles Leclerc, who, after a poor start due to lower grip, was able to maintain a pace similar to the drivers ahead of him. Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, repeatedly complained about a lack of grip, and only in the final part of the stint was he able to improve his sector times. The performance improvement of both Ferrari drivers helped to minimize tire wear throughout the stint, a note that we can nonetheless see in a positive light. Oscar Piastri managed his pace by maintaining a minimal gap to George Russell to prevent him from using the drag reduction system. As seen based on the telemetry data from the final part of the first stint, Oscar Piastri was far from pushing the car to its limit. Meanwhile, George Russell was skillful in managing tire wear. Taking advantage of a softer rear setup, the Briton made good use of the throttle on corner exit, preventing his rival from overtaking. Red Bull concluded the most difficult weekend since the start of the 2025 Formula One season in the worst possible way. Higher temperatures and mistakes made during the pit stop tire changes prevented Max Verstappen from running his usual race. The problems began already in the qualifying session, forcing the reigning world champion into a comeback drive. Stuck in the midfield, the four-time Formula One world champion couldn't control overheating and complained of lack of grip throughout the stint. Based on the data related to tire degradation, we can see that tire wear with the hard compound was high, forcing the Milton Keynes team into an early pit stop. Ferrari, on the other hand, hit their performance peak precisely in this phase of the race, with Charles Leclerc being the fastest on track. The Ferrari drivers experienced virtually no degradation, and Lewis Hamilton was in fact the fastest on track shortly before the safety car was deployed. In this phase, however, the Monegasque driver suffered from the turbulence in George Russell's slipstream, which prevented him from managing overheating. The Monegasque's goal was to complete the overtake on the Brit quickly, but Mercedes' strong end of straight speed prevented it. Finally, let's focus on the last phase of the Bahrain Grand Prix after the safety car. On medium tires, Oscar Piastri showed all of McLaren's dominance on this track, with the Australian lapping over half a second faster per lap than his rivals. The cooler temperatures compared to Saturday limited this advantage, which had seemed greater during the free practice sessions. Lando Norris didn't show the same performance as his McLaren teammate, being slowed first by Charles Leclerc and then by George Russell. All other cars struggled with tire degradation management in a stint run in sprint race mode. As the telemetry data also confirms, both Ferrari drivers failed to manage the wear of the hardest compound. The Maranello car was heavily limited by understeer, which, as Lewis Hamilton confirmed over the radio, prevented the necessary rotation to get the most out of the car. The issue lies in the difficulty of keeping the hardest compound at optimal temperature, thus limiting the grip available to the drivers. Ferrari was the second-best team in terms of points scored in Bahrain last weekend, behind only McLaren. The weekend summary therefore included both encouraging signs and areas of concern. The most encouraging aspect of the Sakhir weekend was without doubt Charles Leclerc's performance. The Monegasque driver managed to take third place in qualifying, which became second on the grid due to a penalty for George Russell, and finished fourth in the race. Overall, he seemed more comfortable with the SF-25. It is worth remembering that the SF-25 single-seater received significant updates for the fourth race of the 2025 Formula One season, with the first development package of the year introducing a new floor and several changes at the rear of the car. All things considered, the car showed potential at times, particularly during the second stint of the race, when the two Ferrari cars were the fastest cars on track, partly thanks to fresher tires. Compared to the first three races of 2025, a small step forward appeared to have been made in Bahrain, which gives hope for the upcoming rounds. Another positive note not to be underestimated was the excellent pit stops by the team, an element far from guaranteed, as seen with Red Bull, which could make a difference if the car improves further, because this pace is clearly still not enough. Despite the fact that there was some progress in Bahrain, it is impossible to ignore the championship standings, with the leading Ferrari driver, Charles Leclerc, already 45 points behind Lando Norris in the driver's standings, and the Italian side 94 points behind McLaren in the constructors. These gaps, after only 4 out of 24 rounds, are cause for serious reflection. For the engineers at Ferrari, it is certainly a concern to have once again finished behind George Russell's Mercedes, let alone the comparison with the two papaya-colored cars. The 2025 Formula One project has yet to fully blossom, just like Lewis Hamilton's feeling with his new car. The 7-time Formula One world champion struggled significantly in qualifying, and climbing back to 5th place in the race is hardly a reason for satisfaction. Still, that was probably the most that could be asked of him on Sunday, especially considering the car's tire management issues, which Charles Leclerc also confirmed at the end of the race. In fact, the Monegasque was lapping on hard tires slower than George Russell on softs, when, due to degradation, the exact opposite should have happened. The strategic decision not to fit a set of softs likely lies in this problem. The SF-25 wears out the tires too quickly. In short, there is still a lot of work to be done in Maranello if the team wants to come even close to fulfilling the expectations from the winter, when Ferrari was supposed to fight for both Formula One championships. And just to be clear, no member of the so-called press that puts pressure forced Charles Leclerc to say he would be disappointed if Ferrari failed to win even one world title. But that's another story. Following on from the Grand Prix in Japan and Bahrain, the first triple header of the year comes to a close, still in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia. Round 5 of the Formula One World Championship takes place at the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit, notable for high speeds and the technical challenges it throws up for drivers and teams. Air temperatures above 30 degrees are expected in Jeddah, dropping to around 23, 24 when the sun goes down. The track surface is not very abrasive, which suggests that a one-stop strategy is the way to go, but the track characteristics, with the walls always ready to catch out the unwary, mean teams have to be ready to modify their strategy in the case of any unexpected incidents in the race. Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur stated that the last round of the first triple header in Saudi Arabia presents significantly different characteristics in layout and track surface compared to Bahrain. The French manager noted that in Sakhir, the team had made small steps forward in competitiveness, thanks to improvements in the car's performance and solid execution in both qualifying and the race. He added that during the days spent in Maranello, the team had continued working hard on data analysis and aimed to approach the Jeddah race with the same objective. Fred Vasseur emphasized the importance of staying focused on their own performance, as this was the most effective way to extract the maximum from the current package and make steady progress in closing the gap to the teams ahead in the standings.